All right, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon, focused on the U.S. Small Business Administration Surety Bond Guarantee Program. My name is Crystal Irons, and I'm the director of the Missouri Small Business Development Center at Missouri State University. And I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us this afternoon. This program is being offered in partnership with the Missouri Small Business Development Center at MSU, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and the Missouri Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. We have a great lineup of speakers to give you information on all these organizations, as well as specifically the Surety Bond Guarantee Program. So a few housekeeping things to note before we jump in. The slides from each of our presenters, including their contact information, will be emailed out to everyone after the program. And I get all those, so give us probably till tomorrow morning and I'll get that to everybody that's registered. We have 4 presenters, including myself, and so to kind of avoid disruption of the flow of information, we'll do all the presentations and then we'll have Q&A at the end. But feel free, as you have those questions, to just type those in the chat as you think of them, and then when we get to that Q&A part, I will go through as many of those as we have time to. So I'm going to kick things off real quickly and just talk real quickly about the Missouri Small Business Development Center. We are here to assist you and your business. We offer one-on-one small business consulting, which is confidential and at no charge to our clients. And we do this for people that are at really any stage of their business, from feasibility and startup to growth and expansion, and even planning a successful transition for what comes next. So we provide a variety of different training seminars on different topics throughout the year. We work with our clients on a lot of different things, including business planning and strategy, financial management, projections, market research. So really, whatever those businesses need to get started and grow successfully, we are so privileged to be able to work alongside of them and coach them as they grow successful businesses. At our center at Missouri State University, we also do a variety of course projects to where we utilize our students and our relationship with Missouri State University, and we're really able to dive in to projects with clients and give them a good deliverable at the end. So different things like developing a marketing plan. We do feasibility studies each semester with our College of Business. We also do some management assessments and some human resource services through our course projects. So if you ever have a need or work with a business that has a need, if you're a partner on the call with us as well, please don't hesitate to let us know or send the business our way. And we always keep a running list of people that need those types of services. And then, of course, over the last several months, our team has been focused on disaster recovery and really working with small businesses to understand, what's available to them, ways that they can look toward recovery currently. So that's a little bit about what we do. We are part of a statewide and nationwide network. So we have colleagues, of course, across the state of Missouri here to assist small businesses through our partnership with both the SBA and University of Missouri Extension, and of course, Missouri State University in the Southwest region. So our specific center serves the area that you see in blue, and we have 3 offices. In Greene County, we're part of the eFactory team at Missouri State University. We are working with University of Missouri Extension over in Taney County, and then we have a satellite center over in West Plains on our Missouri State University campus as well. So several offices to serve the entire Southwest region. We are providing ongoing assistance with kind of everything that's going on. We're doing mostly virtual appointments right now, but people can visit our website at sbdc.missourystate.edu and immediately schedule an appointment online with any one of our consultants. We have made the scheduling an appointment process pretty seamless. We have a variety of upcoming webinars scheduled, so I would encourage everybody to take a look at those. The webinars that we do have are all in an online format, and they are mostly designed around helping people grow their existing business. So we are excited about some of those. In particular, we have our financial management series happening right now, several courses under that, one specifically focused around making that successful transition that I mentioned. We also have some business resiliency roundtables coming up, talking about pivoting your business model, and also human resources in response to COVID-19. So some good things coming up. And of course, if we can help anyone, our contact information, email, and our website again is there. We do have a resource page on our website where we have a webinar library, and we are recording this webinar. And so we will have that up on our webinar library as well for everyone to access. So that is a little bit about the Missouri Small Business Development Center. And now I would like to welcome and introduce Ram Bassnett with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Ram is the branch manager for the Springfield, Missouri branch office in the Kansas City district. And he is going to give us a quick overview of SBA and lead us into our Surety Bond Guarantee program. So Ram, you can take it away.
All right. Thank you, Crystal. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, we can.
And the slides? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Crystal, and good afternoon, everyone. Ram Bassnett with the Small Business Administration here in Springfield, Missouri branch office. I'm just going to use a couple of minutes to provide a high-level overview of SBA, and then we'll lead into the Surety Bond Guarantee webinar. So we are SBA, or Small Business Administration. SBA in short is an independent federal agency which was established in 1953 with the Small Business Act of Congress. The mission of our agency is to help small businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. We aid, counsel, assist, and protect the interests of small businesses. We operate across the United States and its territories, including Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and Guam. We are based out of the Kansas City district office. The Springfield is the branch office. So now how we do it, right? So the first is the helping small business owners with the know-how of the business basics. That's education, information, training, and counseling. So we normally deliver this through our resource partner network, like the SPDCs. We also partially fund the SCORE Mentors, Women's Business Center, and the Veterans Business Outreach Center as well. And then the SBA also has a government guaranteed loans, which helps small businesses to start or grow their existing business. These are guaranteed loans that go up to $5 million. And then for renters, homeowners, and small business owners, there are low interest federal disaster loans available in areas that are declared disasters. This also includes some qualified nonprofits as well. And then the SBA also helps small businesses with trying to get into government contracting and also small business certifications. So speaking of government contracting, the federal government spent more than $500 billion on prime contracts in fiscal year 2019. And the Small Business Act of Congress requires that federal government set aside 23% contract dollars for small businesses. Now, that translates to $115 billion that went to small businesses. 5% of that is set aside for 8A certified businesses. So the 8A Business Development Program is for businesses that are owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. And those companies that are 8A certified can apply for sole source contracts, for general contracts up to $4.5 million, and for contracts in construction up to $7.5 million. We have Carolina Vargas, the Kansas City SBA's Business Opportunity Specialist, on the call. If you have any questions with regards to this program, or if you're interested in this program, she would be able to, she would be more than happy to answer any questions you have towards the end. Now, 5% of that is also set aside for women-owned small businesses and economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses. 3% for businesses located in historically underutilized business zones, and then 3% for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Now, the SBA can help you get certified for the first three. The last one, you certify yourself at sam.gov. And then if you're seeking VA contracts or FAA contracts, then the certification has to come from the VA. And again, the disclaimer here is certification does not guarantee you'll receive a contract. We'll share these slides. If you click on this link and put your zip code, you can find all resources that are closer to your area, including the SBDCs, PTAC, and a host of other resources as well. Now, well, thank you for your time today. Now, our next presenter is Tamara Murray. She is the Surety Bond Guarantee Specialist with the Small Business Administration. Tamara, you can take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram, and thank you, Crystal. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to speak to some of Missouri's small businesses about the Surety Bond Guarantee program. So I'm happy to be here. As Ram and Crystal mentioned, we will have an opportunity for Q&A at the conclusion of today's webinar as we get towards the end. So if you have any questions during the course of my presentation, please do feel free to enter those into the chat, and I'll be happy to hang around for a little bit and address those once we get to that point in the program. Now, ordinarily, when I have access to much more stable Wi-Fi, I would like to play a video about our first 50 years. The Surety Bond Guarantee program is 50 years old this year in 2020. But for this particular event, I'm going to skip over that. But this link here with our tagline about opening doors to bonding for small businesses, once you receive copies of the slides from this presentation today, this will be a live clickable link. The video is available on YouTube. It's about 7 minutes long, and it's really, I think, a very fun and interesting video. And we welcome you to log into YouTube, access the video through this link, and take a look at that if you're interested in doing that. But we're going to get to why you're here today. You're here to learn a little bit more about bonding, contract bonding, and how SBA can open doors to bonding for small businesses. So when we talk about bonding, that's really an umbrella term. Surety bonds encompasses hundreds of different types of bonds. A couple of the types of bonds that small businesses who typically need contract bonds will need are license and permit bonds. And those are provided or required by a municipality like the city of Kansas City from a small business in order to perform work within that jurisdiction. So think in terms of a plumber who is doing work in the city of Kansas City and they have to be licensed and bonded as a plumber. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about license and permit bonds. And that's, again, just one type of bond that's out there in the marketplace that a lot of small businesses require. Those license and permit bonds are typically very simple to qualify for and secure from any local bonding agent. You typically complete an application, pay a premium, and you walk out the door with your license and permit bond. The types of bonds that we're going to be talking about today are contract surety bonds. And contract bonding is a very different form of bonding than license and permit bonding. Qualifying for contract bonding requires a small business to demonstrate good character, experience in their field of work, strong business management skills, enough capital within the company, good credit, and a strong financial presentation. So when we talk about contract bonding, you can think of that in terms of being very much like securing a loan or other form of credit. And small businesses sometimes struggle to meet the requirements necessary to qualify for contract bonding. Now, the advantage to you as a small business owner is that securing contract bonding helps to pre-qualify your small business to your project owners. It assures your project owners that your firm is the best option for their job and that you will successfully complete their project. If that doesn't happen, if there's some sort of a hiccup or a challenge along the way on your project, there's a third party, the surety company, who will step in to remedy any performance or payment issues on that contract. So it's the surety company standing behind your small business that assures your project owners that you're the right option for their job. So if you're willing to take the plunge, performing bonded work really can be a lucrative revenue stream for a small business. Not all small businesses out there are going to be in a position to be able to perform bonded work. So it's a pretty select group that you could have access to. Now, when we talk about contract surety bonds, there are 4 types of contract surety bonds, and SBA can guarantee each of these bonds for a small business. So the process of securing a contract typically starts out with the bid process, and that's where the bid bond applies when you're bidding on a project. And what the bid bond does is it assures the project owner that you will provide the required combination of performance, payment, and maintenance bonds that that project owner requires to secure that contract if the contract is awarded to you. So a bid bond is essentially a form of pre-qualification, if you want to think about it that way. You essentially have pre-qualified for the performance, payment, or maintenance bonds that that particular project owner requires. Now, those remaining 3 bonds apply in various combinations once you've been awarded a contract. And in some cases, you might actually start out in this particular area. If you're negotiating for a contract, for instance, or if you are an 8A firm, as Ram just mentioned a few moments ago, you have the availability to access non-competitive contracts where you don't have to compete with other businesses out there in the marketplace. So you might actually start out in the negotiation or the award phase. And that's where these other 3 bonds come into play. So the performance bond guarantees that you will complete the project in accordance with its terms and conditions. You will perform the contract. The payment bond guarantees that you will pay your subcontractors and your labor and material suppliers for their work on the project. You will pay your bills on that contract. And then the maintenance bond guarantees that you will remedy any defects in the workmanship and materials that have been installed on that project within a specific time period after you complete your contract. Usually that time period is 1 to 2 years, but it does vary based on the regulations in place in the state or city or county where you are performing your contract. Now, the combination of contract bond requirements, whether you have to provide a bid bond, whether you have to provide a performance and a payment bond, and at what level you have to provide those bonds. Some smaller contracts may not require any of these bonds. So that requirement is going to vary from place to place and project to project because of different public laws and regulations and internal requirements that have been established by private project owners. So it's really important that you, as a small business owner, check the specifications on each of your projects for any bond requirements before you submit your bid or begin negotiating on your contract. You know, we sometimes hear and get panicked phone calls from small businesses who really want to bid on a contract, or they've already signed a contract and they didn't realize that there was a bond requirement in the contract. And then they're reaching out to us because they have a deadline to provide these bonds and they're kind of behind the 8 ball. So make sure that you don't put yourself in that particular position. You can prepare yourself and be ready to provide contract bonding, even if you don't have a current project that needs a bond. So you can actually go through the process of pre-qualifying for bonding and be prepared so that when you do have a need for a bid bond or a performance and payment bond, you will be ready to do that. And all you have to do is apply for that bond. So you can prepare yourselves. That's probably the biggest recommendation that we have here at SBA for small businesses is be prepared and be alert. Make sure that you're checking those specifications and don't put yourself into a panicked state where you need a bond and you have to get that as quickly as possible. So start that process as early on as you can. When it comes to SBA's bond guarantee program, which is primarily what we're going to be talking about today, we assist many different types of small businesses through the Surety Bond Guarantee program. Some of the types of small businesses that come to SBA for assistance with bonding are startups and newer firms. So if you're a new emerging small business, it can be a bit of a struggle to qualify for contract bonds because you are new, because you are an emerging small business and you don't have 5 or 10 or 15 years of successfully completing contracts. We assist small businesses with limited or insufficient capital. So if you've been struggling to obtain contract bonding because you don't have sufficient capital, having a bond guarantee from SBA can help with that. And we can also help small businesses that want to make the leap to larger project sizes or increased bond limits. We sometimes hear from subcontractors who are interested in establishing bonding today so that when they're ready, they can bid as a prime contractor in the future. SBA guarantees 80 or 90% of each bond based on the demographics of your business. And it is that guarantee from SBA that allows our partner sureties to provide bonds for small businesses that they would otherwise consider to be too risky. And that's going to help provide you with new contracting opportunities. Now, SBA's bond guarantee provides your business with several advantages that help to make it easier for you to qualify for contract bonding. The first relates to bonding capacity and working capital. So SBA's working capital requirements, the amount of capital that you need to have in your small business, is lower than that of a standard surety company. And that is going to allow you to qualify for up to twice as much bonding capacity with SBA support than you could without. Secondly, a working capital bank line of credit, if you have one, is beneficial to your surety relationship. Your surety company is going to be happy to see that you have a working capital bank line of credit in place in the event that you need to draw on that for some cash flow. But it takes on much more significance in SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee program. That's because SBA counts the available balance on that bank line of credit, the unused portion of that bank line, as actual working capital that's available to your business. And that is going to allow you to qualify for even more bonding capacity because you have more working capital available. And we can also provide opportunities for small businesses to secure bonding for larger projects where your financial statement presentation may not meet the surety's typical requirements. So SBA can give you the opportunity to perform a larger contract that may require a CPA prepared financial statement and allow you to perform that contract because you have SBA's guarantee, and then give you the time that you need to upgrade your financial statements if you want to be able to perform future projects at that level. So let me just give you an example of how those two main advantages, working capital and the bank line of credit, might apply to you. I mentioned just a moment ago that bonding capacity, the amount of bonding that you can qualify for, is typically based on your available working capital. That's because working capital measures your business's ability to meet its current and future financial obligations. And you can estimate your current working capital from your balance sheet. If you're curious what that is, just take your cash and add to that your accounts receivable and subtract your current liabilities. So cash plus accounts receivable minus current liabilities. That's going to give you a pretty good idea of what your available working capital is to be able to qualify for contract bonding. So in a non-SBA supported bonding relationship, if you just went to a surety company today, you might be able to qualify for bonding capacity that's about 10 times that available working capital from your balance sheet. With SBA support, however, the working capital from your balance sheet is combined with any amount available on that bank line of credit that we just talked about. So that increases your working capital for bonding purposes. And in addition to that, with SBA support, you can typically qualify for bonding capacity that's about 20 times your available working capital because SBA's capital requirements are lower. So let me throw some numbers at you that'll help that make, I think, a little bit more sense. So let's say the working capital that you have available on your balance sheet right now today is $100,000. If you were to approach a surety company and apply for bonding capacity, you might be able to obtain bonding capacity of about $1 million, 10 times that $100,000 in working capital. That's not a lot, right? A couple $500,000 jobs and you've maxed out your bonding capacity. If you were to obtain SBA bond guarantees on your projects, that bonding capacity could potentially double to $2 million just by virtue of having SBA bond guarantees on your projects. So that's double the bonding capacity just by having SBA support. But let's say you've also got that bank line we've been talking about. You have a $250,000 bank line of credit and $100,000 of that line is available, is unused. In SBA's bond guarantee program, we would take the $100,000 from that bank line, add that to the $100,000 in working capital that you have on your balance sheet, and you now have $200,000 in working capital, which could equate to $4 million in bonding capacity. So I think you can see why we believe that these are two of the biggest advantages of obtaining SBA bond guarantees, and they're only available through SBA's bond guarantee program. Hopefully I've piqued your interest a little bit at this point, and you'd like to know more about the eligibility requirements and the cost of our program and bonding. So the first step in qualifying for SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee program is determining if SBA considers your business to be small. This is going to be based on your average annual revenues over the last 5 years if you are a construction, service, or supply firm, or number of employees if you're a manufacturer. You can locate your size standard on our website at sba.gov if you're interested, but you don't even have to know that. We will make that determination during the very first initial stages of the application process for our program. So that's the first step, is to be small by SBA standards. The next step in the process is determining if your contract qualifies for an SBA guarantee. And we provide several different options for guaranteeing contracts of different sizes. For instance, we have a quick app that is great for first-time applicants because it doesn't require financial statements and other documents that are typically required to qualify for bonding, which I'll talk about in more depth here in just a few minutes. And I'll also give you more detail on our quick app program here in just a moment. Beyond that quick app program though, SBA can guarantee any contract type up to $6.5 million in size and up to $10 million on a federal contract that's awarded directly to your firm. So a lot of small businesses think that because we're a federal agency, which is a federal program, that we can only guarantee federal jobs, and that's not true. SBA does not just guarantee bonds on federal contracts. We guarantee bonds on federal, state, local, and private contracts and subcontracts, all the way up to $6.5 million in size to better assist you with all of your bonding needs. So the final step in the process is to pass the sureties and SBA's evaluation process, which is going to include a review of your character, your capacity, and your capital, what we call the 3 C's of surety. So again, it is a little bit like applying for a loan. The surety company and SBA are going to evaluate your character, the financial condition of your company, the credit of the owners of your company, and that's all going to go into that evaluation that we just talked about. Now, a little more on that quick app that I just mentioned. The quick app is designed for small, simple projects up to $400,000 in size, and it has a few limitations and exclusions, which you can see here. SBA's partner sureties typically underwrite the quick app just based on the business owner's credit. So if you have a fair to better personal credit history, you have a small project that fits in this program, this can be a very simple, quick way to obtain an SBA bond guarantee on a project up to $400,000 in size. On SBA's end of the process, you would just complete a simple 2-page application to apply for the bond guarantee from SBA. All right, so unless you're interested in just bonding smaller projects under that Quick App program, you should be prepared to provide some financial information to qualify for bonding over and above that level. That's typically going to include your business financial statements for your last 3 fiscal year ends, unless you haven't been in business that long. If you haven't been in business that long, the surety and SBA are going to want to look at the financial statements for the number of years that you've been in business. And if you're a brand new emerging small business, you haven't even made it to your first year end yet, you'll at least need to provide a financial statement, a balance sheet, that shows what your current financial condition is. You'll also be asked for personal financial statements from all of the owners of your company, and a reference letter from your bank outlining any available lines of credit. That bank letter is going to be especially important in increasing your bonding capacity with SBA's support. It's from that bank reference letter that we find out how much of that working capital bank line of credit is available for your use, so we can apply that and increase your bonding capacity. Now, when you're applying for an SBA bond guarantee, you'll be asked to complete 1 application form for SBA each time you need a bond while you're using our program. So you may need to provide some additional information beyond what we're talking about here based on your specific circumstances. If you've been in a bankruptcy or something like that, there may be some additional documentation that's required, but this is the basic information that you should expect to provide when you begin this process of qualifying for contract bonding. All right, so let's talk about the cost. The good news is that bid bonds generally have no cost to secure, and SBA does not charge a fee for a bid bond guarantee. If you remember back to our discussion of what a bid bond does, a bid bond is an opportunity to secure a contract. You don't actually have the job yet. So if you were to be paying SBA a fee for that bond guarantee, that could be a drain on your working capital. So we're not going to do that to you. When you will incur bond costs and SBA fees are when you are obtaining performance and payment bonds, once you've been awarded a contract that requires those bonds. You'll be asked to pay SBA's fee. It's 0.6% of the contract amount, through a free website that's provided to SBA by the U.S. Treasury. And that website allows you to choose how you pay your SBA fee. You can pay it through a draft out of your checking or savings account. You can pay it with a debit card, or you can pay it with a credit card. Now, while SBA's fee is fixed at 0.6% of the contract amount, regardless of the type of work you perform or whether you need just a performance bond or a performance payment and maintenance bond, it doesn't matter. That 0.6% is fixed. It's based on the contract value. However, the surety's premium charge is going to vary based on the state where your project is located and the type of work that you're performing. Now, I can pin that down a little bit. The surety's premium charge is typically going to fall between 1.5% and 3% of the contract amount. And you'll be on the higher end of that at kind of that 3% level if you're using a credit-based program and not providing financials. So for instance, if you're applying under our Quick App, the surety company may charge you that higher 3% rate. Since these rates vary, you should ask for your surety premium rate. You need to know what your bond rate is in each of the states that you perform work in, so that you can include your total bond costs in your bid estimates and your first pay requests to qualify for reimbursement from your project owner. If your contract requires bonds, these are allowable billable bond costs, and you don't want them coming out of your profit on the project. So make sure to include it in your bid takeoff and bill for it in your first pay request with your project owner. One note of caution: don't separate out your SBA contractor's fee. Sometimes you'll get pushback from the project owner if you separate out that SBA contractor's fee. It is a cost of bonding for you. So use one total bond cost or one total bond rate when you are submitting that fee for reimbursement with your project owner. All right, so how do you get started? The application process for SBA begins with locating an SBA authorized agent, and I'll tell you how you can do that here in just a moment. You'll begin by applying to the SBA authorized agent of your choice, and that agent is going to evaluate the information that you provide to them, and then they will submit it to an SBA partner surety company that they work with. And that's when it's going to go through the surety's evaluation. They're going to look at your character, your capital, and your credit. Once the surety agrees to bond your firm and is going to place you in SBA's bond guarantee program, usually that's a discussion about whether or not you need SBA's bond guarantee, the agent that you have chosen to work with will apply to SBA for that bond guarantee on your behalf. So you'll complete the application form, return it to the agent, and then the agent will use our electronic application process to apply for your bond guarantee. SBA staff review and approve bond guarantee applications in less than 2 days on average once we receive them from our agents. And those quick apps that I mentioned, we typically approve the guarantees under those quick apps in just a couple of hours. Once the agent has SBA's approval, they can then provide you with your bond so you can submit your bid or get started on your project. SBA currently partners with 41 surety companies that are represented by over 350 agents across the country. Now, you probably recognize some of these big name companies, but probably from their insurance commercials on television. Maybe you didn't know that they also write bonds and that they partner with SBA to help small businesses obtain the contract bonding that they need. All right, so when it comes to bond agents, not all bond agents are authorized by SBA. We work with about 350 agents across the country, and there are probably thousands of bond agents out there. Your agent is your partner and your advocate in the bonding process. They can help guide your business to success. They can get you from point A to point B and to where you want to be 10 years from now. They can refer you to a qualified CPA in your area if you need that. So we recommend that you conduct an interview process with the available agents in your state so that you can select the best agent for your small business. You can find a list of SBA authorized agents on our website at sba.gov/OSG. And we currently have 5 authorized agents with offices in the St. Louis and Kansas City areas if you're looking to work with someone that's more local. That can be an advantage for a small business, though it's not necessary. You are welcome to work with any agent who writes bonds in the states where you perform work. But sometimes you might want to have a sit down and have a face-to-face post-pandemic with your agent, or maybe you have a rush bond need and you need to go pick that up. There can be some advantages to having a local bond agent, but again, it's absolutely not required. You can use any SBA authorized bond agent that you would like. And with regard to interviewing a bond agent, what we recommend is that you come up with some questions that are important to you to ask your bond agent when you're interviewing some of these agents to choose your best partner. The first one might be where their office is located, if having a local agent is important to you. You might want to ask them what states they're licensed to write bonds in. If you're doing business in all 50 states, you want to make sure that your agent and your surety are able to bond all of those projects for you. Maybe you want to ask them whether or not they provide additional services, if they can refer you to a construction CPA if you need one, or if they're willing to really kind of sit down and explain this whole bonding process to you and how you can qualify for contract bonding now, or what you need to do to prepare your company and change things up a little bit so that you can qualify for contract bonding in the future. and how you can grow your bonding capacity. These are all important things to ask of a partner that is your surety bond professional agent. Think of this as very much like having an extended long-term relationship with a banker. The longer you've been working with your agent and your surety, the more willing they're going to be to take that extra risk when you need them to do that. All right, as I mentioned, and Crystal mentioned when we began our virtual seminar today, if you have any questions, please enter those into the chat, and I will be available to answer any questions about bonding in general or the Surety Bond Guarantee program once we reach the end of our virtual seminar today. If you don't have any questions for me today, I will be sharing my contact information with all of you. You can feel free to reach out to me by phone or email, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you in a much more private setting in case you kind of want to discuss your current challenges with bonding in a private setting. I would be happy to do that. In the meantime, I'm going to turn it over to Alan Waldo of the Missouri PTAC to share with you some more information about Missouri's PTAC offerings. Alan, over to you.
Hey, I've been called a lot of different things. Waldo works, so.
Thank you.
I'm working on sharing my screen real fast. I am really privileged today, though, because I've actually got two of my colleagues from the state of Missouri with me today. So shout out to both Chris Bachtin and Delia Marin, who are both PTAC counselors across the state. And I'm always thrilled to have them join us. We have a great team with Missouri PTAC, and kind of depending on where you're located in the state, it would be a good direction for me to kind of point you those ways. So I don't know if you want to say hi Delia or hi Chris, or just thumbs up, whatever. So
hi everyone.
There you go. Chris, your turn. Chris still there? Maybe he hung up on me. Oh, well.
I'm there. Had to find the unmute button, Alan. Thank you. And everyone, I'm in Columbia, Missouri. Hello.
So like I say, great to have you all here. Okay, so I don't know. I guess I'm going to go that this is the most exciting part of the entire presentation, even though I will tell you what, I learned a whole lot about the surety bond process. So Tamara, you were teaching me things I had not heard before. And that's actually a question I get quite often when I'm working at PTAC and looking at people with government contracting. But so we're Missouri PTAC. And basically what that means is we're the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. We are tasked with helping out people pretty much with just government contracting. And we can also help out with what they call the SBIR and STTR grants, which are high-tech grants. I am probably very lucky, though, because me working out the Springfield area, I've got an expert with the SBDC office here in town, Sandra, that if I ever have an STTR or an SBIR question or client, I usually work directly with her. But we've got offices across the state. So we've got the one in Springfield, which I represent, and I serve probably 16 or 17 counties. I go all the way down to Joplin, down to McDonald County. We have a counselor over in West Plains, Willis. We have a fairly brand new counselor up in the Rolla area, Traven. We have a couple counselors, or three counselors up in the KC area. We've got Jackie. We've got Shelly Cunningham. We got Delia. I got a couple different counselors in the Columbia area between Mark and Chris, and then my boss, Jana. And then we've got a couple of folks in the St. Louis area. I got Don and Jamie in the St. Louis area. And we are close partner organizations with the SBDC, which is a Small Business Development Center, which Crystal represents. And we're also with TAC, which is the Trade Adjustment Center out of Kansas City. And that's basically there for manufacturers that have seen a decrease in sales based upon foreign competition. Our national organization is APTAC, stands for Association Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. And if you're an out-of-state business and you're looking who your local PTAC might be, that APTAC website's a great place to start. Or the other thing that I always give offers on when I'm ever on a call, not knowing if everybody's from Missouri or not, if you'll reach out to me after the call, if you're one we say, in fact, last week I had a similar type call, and I had somebody reach out to me from California. I was able to introduce them to California PTACs. And then the nice thing about the PTAC is we do work very closely with the federal agencies. I mean, obviously, we have a great relationship with the ROM and the SBA. I get a lot of referrals from the Army Corps of Engineers. I get referrals from Department of Interior. Lots of different places we get referrals from. They see us as being kind of the liaison as far as helping people out that are maybe getting a little bit confused or like to learn a little bit more about government contracting. We are funded in part through a cooperative grant with the Defense Logistics Agency, which is part of the Department of Defense. So about 50 to 60% of our funding comes from the Department of Defense. And then we are employed by the University Extension's Business Development Program. So the nice thing about us being taxpayer funded, our professional services, I do mean professional services are at no cost to our clients. In other words, free. And that's very, very important to keep that in mind, because there are a lot of companies out there that would like to charge you greater than $500 for some, what I call some simple basic services like a SAM registration. So if you are considering getting into government contracting and you start researching, for example, the System for Award Management or SAM, and you start getting on these websites that would like your credit card information, just say no, and then start looking for the PTAC offices, and we can help assist you. So our services are anything from registrations. I probably do as many SAM registrations as just about anything else. I've probably have done roughly 14 to 1,500 of those throughout my career now. I also assist people with Missouri buys. So if you'd like to sell to the state of Missouri, we get you registered Missouri buys. Ron had mentioned earlier some of the socioeconomic certifications. So we got like the woman-owned companies, we got the minority-owned companies, or 8A companies. We got hub zones, we got service-disabled veteran-owned companies. We are also kind of trained to be brutally honest with you. So if I get a call from somebody that truly is not ready to become a government contractor, I would just as soon get that out in the open now and have you spend a whole lot of time going through a bunch of registrations, which at this point you may not need. But we can also outline for you maybe the steps that you need to be taking to get yourself in a position to start government contracting. We can help you out with what's called a capability statement. In fact, I was just drafting a capability statement earlier today, which is kind of a marketing tool that we can share with government contractors. Look for past performance reviews. I mean, we can help out with what they call the Defense Logistics Agency, which we just mentioned, or GSA, the General Services Administration. We can help figure out how to market your product or your service. We've got a service that's called Bid Match that will help find both federal, state, and local solicitations for you to bid on. We've got many, many educational resources, including both live seminars and presentations and Gavology, which is a online training course with approximately 100 different courses out there right now. We can help you look at a solicitation. I mean, just about anything that you could think of government contracting wise, we can assist with. Important considerations if you are thinking about becoming a government contractor. Now, this is not a firm and fast rule, but typically a little bit more longevity, can't say that word, in business. So probably a little bit greater than 2 years. You've done some similar projects in the past. The government really does not want to work with a company that's doing, like, for example, a construction project. They may be wanting to build a dormitory at Fort Leonard Wood, but if you've never built a dormitory or a multi-level housing type facility like that before, the odds of you getting hired to do that job at Fort Leonard Wood is very slim. You got to have good reputation. A lot of the same things that Tamara was talking about with the SBA Surety Bonds. Have to have good financial stability. And, you know, the bonding capacity is what we've been talking about today. If you've got a $2 million project you're wanting to bid on and you can only bond up to $500,000, I'm going to tell you right now, do not waste your time trying to bid on that thing. You need to have some patience if you're planning on being a government contractor. And then you also kind of have to have the mindset that it may be better off to start out as a subcontractor working for larger primes. That is a great place to get your feet wet and a great place to kind of learn the business. Other considerations to know before bidding on something: you need to know your cost. So, for example, you do not want to start doing business with the government if you're going to lose money every time you make a bid. You need to have a very good accounting system where you can separate out your costs, you can separate out your profits. You've got to be understanding that if you're doing construction work, you've got to be paying fully burdened, what they call prevailing wages. So won't we say that you're normally paying your carpenters $15 an hour for a government project? It may be a $30 or $35 job based upon where it's at and what type of work the carpenters are going to be doing. You need to be able to bid and estimate. You need to make sure that you understand the deadlines that you have to meet, because many times with the government projects, there are liquidated damages at the end if you do not meet their goals. Got to do the ability to meet the requirements. So, for example, if you've got to have access to get on a military base, but you've got construction workers that perhaps have had like felonies in the past, they may or may not be able to gain access to the military post to actually do the building. And then at some points too, you've actually got to pay attention to the U.S. products. There are some projects out there where they would like to prefer to have U.S. made projects, or at least maybe trade agreement products. Excuse me. But we can kind of help sort through those for you. Basic registrations, I'm just showing you these quick pictures. So if you ever get on something that does not look like the Sam one on the left or look like the Missouri one that buys one on the right, you're probably not in the right location. You probably are at a location where somebody's going to try to actually charge you to register in those areas. Socioeconomic certifications, Ram did a great job covering this also, and he kind of put out the percentages, but small business, the federal government on a yearly basis is required to award at least 23% of all federal contracts to small businesses based upon your NAICS code, your North American Industry Classification System code, 5% to woman-owned small businesses, 5% to small disadvantaged businesses, but the set-asides are only what they call for 8As, and 8A is based upon being both socially and economically disadvantaged. Service disabled veteran owned small businesses are 3%, and then hub zone, and that is the one that is kind of an unusual one that is based upon where your business is located, and then at least 35% of your employees must also live in a hub zone. You know, we could do an entire presentation over an hour and a half doing nothing but talking about these socioeconomic certifications. Key components of a certification, we've talked about being a small business. You've got to be owned by a U.S. citizen, 51% unconditionally owned by U.S. citizens. And then generally so if you're a service disabled vet, you've got to truly control the day-to-day and strategic operations of the business, and you don't have to go to other people to get permission to do whatever types of work you want to get done. State of Missouri, for example, also has certifications. They have a minority business enterprise and woman business enterprise, both through the Office of Equal Opportunity. They've got the Service Disabled Veteran Enterprise, the SDVE, through the Office of Administration. And then MoDOT's got the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, which is based upon either the owner being a minority or being a woman. And if you happen to apply and get certified by MoDOT as a Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, then you also meet that same category for any kind of U.S. Department of Transportation. Before diving into government marketplace, here's my suggestions. Take a really honest assessment of your business, including your past performance, your financial statements, your bonding levels are, if you truly can perform on these jobs. Keep in mind that there are more rules and regulations of the government market. In commercial, you may have civil liability, but you could have both criminal and civil liability with the government based upon what you're doing. You got to pay the prevailing wages. I know I mentioned that earlier in the slide, but that is so stinking important if you're planning on bidding a construction project. I also tell people, do not buy government business. In other words, do not take a loss on a job on purpose just so you can get the next job, because the government really doesn't care. They'll take the loss on the next job and then award it to another contractor the next time. I also like to recommend you look for subcontracting opportunities. I mentioned that before also, but that is a great way to learn from the big boys. And then also consider the American-made products I mentioned before. So my next steps to you, if you're interested in government contracting, is become a Missouri PTAC or your home state's PTAC client. Educate yourself. Being a PTAC client, you do have access to the Govology courses for free. Take some of the SBDC and the SBA educational offerings. I mean, the one that you're taking today is an outstanding step in the right direction. All the PTAC counselors typically give what they call like basics in contracting course. I think Chris may have one coming up, Dale may have one coming up, but my next one is on December 8th, and you can actually register for that online at the Missouri PTAC website. Work with your partner organizations such as the SBDC, and I always kind of recommend anyway that it's always good to register in SAM and Missouri buys. But the SAM registration allows you to actually be listed what they call the SBA's Dynamic Small Business Search. And if you are eligible, consider having a social economic registration. There is my contact information, and I am currently working out of the office most days. I think I'm in on Mondays. So the best way to contact me currently is probably through my email. So with that being said, I will shut up and see if anybody has any questions for any one of the panelists.
All right, thank you, Alan. And it looks like I do have one question in the chat. Let me get to that real quickly. There we go. Tamara, this one is for you. Does the contractor have to approach the surety bond partner or agent asking to use the SBA Surety Guarantee program, or will they look into all programs without having to ask?
Well, I hate to say it depends, but it really kind of does. So, what I would recommend is, firstly, when you begin your conversation with your SBA authorized agent, let them know that you found them on SBA's website. That's going to be a clue into them that you might be interested in the Surety Bond Guarantee program. But ultimately, it's really kind of up to you as a small business to approach the bond agent and let them know that you might be interested in the program, that you want to explore all of the options that are available to you, including SBA's bond guarantee program. If they feel like they can get you the bonding capacity that you need without SBA, they may not suggest it. But I think it's important for all small businesses, all businesses in general, to weigh their options. Even though you might not need SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee program to get the bonding that you need right now, you may be able to get more capacity with SBA guarantees. And so, it may be that you don't need it now, but 6 months down the road you do. And if you've already got that in place, then you're already ready to go. So I would say if you're interested, just approach the bond agent and let them know that you're interested in exploring what your capacity might be with SBA bond guarantees.
Thank you, Tamara. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So just a reminder, we do have a minute or so. So throw those in the chat if you do have a question. I'm also going to put a link to a quick survey in the chat. So if everyone would take some time and just fill that out, there's just a few questions there. Give us a little bit of feedback. If there's anything else you would like to learn about, please also include that information. And we're always looking to provide some updated programming for our clients. So seeing no, oh, here we go. Let's see. Will you have this webinar again? I like share with. So there's a question in the chat about, will we offer this again? And how will you be able to share it with clients? So everybody's presentation that you saw today, we will follow up, and everybody that was registered will send an email with that information. We also are recording this and it will be posted on our webinar library. And so in that follow-up email, I will include a link to that webinar library as well. So it will be available on our website, and you are free to share it with people, and appreciate you doing so, so we can continue to provide this information to people. So thank you for that question.
I just want to add on to that, Callie, if you would rather prefer another in-person webinar, we do have one scheduled for March 11th at noon.
Great, thank you, Ron.
No problem.
All right, we are right at 1 o'clock. I want to thank you all so much for attending. Ron, Tamara, and Alan, really appreciate your partnership in putting this program together. And everyone have a great afternoon.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.